Hey there. Welcome to yet another episode of John Works Too Much. Now in this episode, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to screen print a t-shirt. And the first step is you got to make the artwork. So with the artwork, we have to separate the color that you're going to print, the ink color, from everything else. And then you have to print it in all black. Okay, so let me show you what I mean by this. So right now, this gray and white checkerboard, that just means that it's transparent background. So then if you get closer, then you can see that my beautiful design says, wait for it. Let's bring this down a little bit. Whatever the question is, more government is the answer. Now I think that's delightful. I also made this design that said, light is not afraid of darkness. Now I think that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's got to be in all black. The gray and white checkerboard is background. So let me just show you, I'm going to put a background behind it so you can see, like, imagine there was a shirt there. And now all of a sudden it's on a gray background, like, oh, that's a gray shirt with black ink, okay? But maybe you don't want black ink. Maybe you want a different color ink. So you're like, what would that look like if it was red ink? And there's the answer. You know, that's with red ink. Or, for example, maybe if you want to have pink ink, which I would not, there's black. If we wanted to change it to some other color like green or whatever, then we could just change that as we went to all kinds of different colors. But whenever it comes down to it, you want to print in black. And I'm going to show you why in a minute, so stay tuned because it's very important. So the next step you would want to do is we want to fit all this on one screen, which I just did, and then you would print that. Okay, so I'm not going to do that right now because I already did it. All right, so here it is. I printed off in 11 by 17. And this is the way I want it to look. So when I put it on my shirt, I'm like, that's about the right size. And, you know, like, that's about the right size. That's where I want it to be. So when it prints off right, I have a stamp. And it says, I'll allow it. Thank you, James Bedwell. Okay, so then you print it off on a real thing, and that's going to be on a transparency. And so you can see there's black ink on transparency, and then we will take that and we'll make a screen. So next thing I want to do, because I put two designs on one piece of transparency because I'm lazy, is cut it. I don't know if your scissors do that. Mine are magical. So now we've got light is not light is not afraid of darkness, and whatever the question is, more government is the answer. I can learn how to talk. All right, so now we're going to go and we are going to make the screen. That's the next step. So the next step, and this is very important, is you have to have a room that has no UV light in it, okay? Now, how do you do that? Well, there's different ways you can do it. You can have a totally dark room. That's really impossible because you can't see. Or you can have bulbs that are especially made for doing this kind of work. And they have like screw-in light bulbs, like regular light bulbs. They're, I don't know, $10 or something like that. And then I've got these fluorescent ones. So I set mine up like this. So for me to be able to work on making the screen, not on printing, but on making the screen, I have to have the light difference. So this light now has UV in it. And the problem is that the emulsion that's on these screens is UV sensitive. So before it's been exposed to UV light, it is water soluble. And that's what we want. But then we bake it. And so once it's exposed to UV light, then it's baked. And then the water can't penetrate it. So what we got to do is I've got my garage rigged up where I turn this light off and I turn this light on, and now we're UV safe. Okay, so here for a minute, you're gonna see this kind of light. And it's a little bit weird, I know, I get it. Okay, so I know this is a lot to process, but this screen, this is 110 mesh screen, which means it has 110 lines or strings or whatever per inch in each direction. Okay, so that's about an average size screen. Like, you can get higher mesh counts. I've got some that are 305 and stuff like that. You can get super fine detail, but for an average t-shirt, 110 is just fine. Okay, so this has emulsion on it, and this is you skim coat it across, and then you turn it over and you skim coat it across, and then I've got a drying rack over here, and I dry it in this same kind of light. Okay, and then I keep it in a dark room where no light is there, so that it doesn't get exposed. Because once this is exposed to light, then water can't penetrate it anymore. But we want water to be able to penetrate it just in the right places. Okay, so what we want to do is put this on the press, right? Which is important. Put this down, line it up, tighten it up. Okay, so that's where it's going to sit eventually when I make this screen. Now, I want to get my design, which is right here, remember? Light is not afraid of darkness, okay? Now I'm going to get invisible tape. You guys probably have some. If not, it's not that expensive. All the rest of the stuff is though, so, you know, pay attention. So I'm going to take some of this, I'm going to put on here. Now there are a bunch of ways to expose these screens. I'll show you some of them here in a second. Okay, so I'm going to line up my design. I've got lines on my press here already. Now I want to line this up, then I put it down. There we go. Okay, so now it's stuck on the back of my screen, right? And this part will not expose, okay, where the tape is. So what I'm trying to do, I've got an exposure unit, I'll show you in a second. What I'm trying to do is I want all of this to be exposed, and so it's like baked. So then water and ink can't penetrate. But where this black is, where my design is, that will stay water soluble. And so when I wash it out, then that's where the design will be. That's the stencil, and then ink can pass through that onto the t-shirt. Okay, so now the next step is exposing this thing, all right? So the next step is you want to have an exposure unit of some kind, okay? Now this one, okay, so there's different ways to do it. The sun is a big UV light. I don't know if you knew that. It's full of UV light. So if you do this right, which is very difficult to do, you can take your stencil, tape it onto a thing, put it out in the sunlight for 10 minutes, come back out and wash it out, and it may work. I've never done that because, I don't know, I guess I've had money for too long. Anyway, I've had less great exposure units, but now I do like this exposure unit quite a bit. It's gonna suck down. There's a vacuum pump, it's gonna suck down tight. I've got this strap that goes in there so that it doesn't like suck too tight and it can get air everywhere out that it needs to. Then I'm gonna turn on the lamps and they're gonna expose from the bottom so that everything will be baked except for where the design is. So here's my dark area here. We're gonna take this and put it down in place. Put this thing like here, clamp it down, then we turn it on, okay? So this is gonna suck it down. You can tell what it's doing. Give it a second. I'm setting my timer here. So you see how this is sucking down? I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can tell. Okay. So then when it locks in, then it kind of makes a noise, right? So then we start it, and then I don't know if you can tell, but there's a light that's going on underneath that, and that's exposing it. Now you want it to be sucked down because that way no light bounces around and makes it fuzzy on the edges. You want to have clean edges, right? So this is sucking down, it's exposing light onto it. That way the screen that I made is going to be able to be not water soluble except where the design is, and then we'll rinse it out. And it's going to be truly amazing. You're going to be like this, John, how do you know so much stuff about so much stuff? And I'll be like this. The reason why I know so much stuff about so much stuff is because I keep trying to find something that I'm good at. So far I've got nothing, so I just keep learning new things. A lot of people I guess don't do that. Anyway. So while you guys blinked, I let this expose, and I got another screen ready, right? The other one, which is whatever the question is, more government is the answer. Okay, so when you take this off, it looks literally no different, right? You take off this transparency, and then what happens? Nothing. It doesn't look like anything happened, but magic happened. I'll show you in a second. Okay. So now we're gonna take this other screen, we're gonna put this in place. And it says, whatever the question is, more government is the answer. Which, if you know me at all, you know I don't really believe that. Okay, so we're gonna go over here and rinse the screen out. Now, hopefully, at your house, you have all this stuff. I know I do, but you know, whatever. So, what you gotta do, you got a washout tank, hopefully you do. And right now, we're still in UV safe light, right? I've got a power washer. I'm gonna turn it on. First, I gotta wet the screen, okay? And we're gonna turn it around. Wet the other side. Okay. Now, once that's wet, it's safe for a while. so I can turn on a light that you can see. Okay, see that? You can kind of see this pattern a little bit, but watch what happens whenever we rinse it out. The part that was exposed, right? This has now been rinsed out. So ink can pass through where this design is. So next step is I need to put it on a drying rack and let it dry. All right, so your next question is going to be this. John, once you got a screen that you don't want anymore, how do you get rid of all that? I'll show you. Number A, you got an old screen, you've already used it. This has been sitting here for a while, probably a year. You wet it. You wet it again. Hopefully you got some emulsion remover. I do. Put emulsion remover all over it. You can also have a dip tank. I don't have one. Okay, so emulsion remover. Hopefully you got a scrub brush just for emulsion, which I do. We should let that sit there for a bit. I'm gonna be lazy and just try it out. Let's see what happens. Okay, that was really boring. Thank God I sped up time for you. So, now you can tell I didn't get all the edges exactly because I'm being lazy for the video, but there's still like a ghost of the design, right? There's still some ink left in there. Hopefully, sitting around your house, you've got some ink remover, which I do. So let's spray that on there. Hopefully, you've got a separate scrub brush just for ink remover, which I do. Scrub the other side too, so it matters. Hang it back so you can find it later when you want to know where it's at. Now, for the hard part, spray that again. And I don't know if you can tell, but now all the design is gone, all the ink is gone. So, good job, me. Yay. Hope you learned something. Hopefully you got a drying rack that you made out of something that your friend found somewhere. I don't know what it was used for originally, but now it's a drying rack. So I got a fan hooked up to it, and that'll dry. And then once this is dry, then we are gonna make some t-shirts. How exciting! Huh, you guys are still here. Well, let me show you the next step. All right, so hopefully you got a screen printing press, and we wanna get the right station set up over here. So the next step will be to tape off the back here, because otherwise you're going to get ink come through here and a big fat mess. So I already taped it because it's boring to watch. All right, so there's my design. Light is not afraid of darkness, and we're going to put it in place, put it down, line that sucker up. I got lines in here, you guys can't see them, but that centers it. And then we want to get it lined up. So what we want is a little bit of a gap between the screen and the platen underneath it, okay? So I've got adjustments over here. I'm just going to do it. It's boring to watch. So that when you put it down, it has a little bit of a give, right? You want it to put the ink in and then lift it back out, okay? So that's our next step. Then we want to put some ticky tack on there, some sticky, okay? Because otherwise, that's not good. So hopefully you got some of this sitting around your shop, which I'm sure you do. I don't need much because I'm just doing t-shirts. Yay, I did it. Okay, so now I've got my screen set up right here, which is amazing. I got the shirt that I'm actually going to use. I'm only making one of these because when you own your own shop, you get to just like do all this work so you can make yourself one shirt, because nobody else sells stuff like this. And I like to be unique, like everybody else. Just kidding, I'm a trendsetter. All right, so we want to get the shirt and put it on. Get it straight. Get it in the right place. smooth it out, put it down on the thing, drag her ink across, so that's called flooding the screen, and then that is beautiful. Boom. Light's not afraid of darkness. Now, let's put it through the machine, through the dryer. Okay, so the conveyor, this ink will stay wet for pretty much ever. Not forever, but for a very long time, until you get it hot. Once you get it hot, it's plastisol ink. Once you get it hot, then it bakes on, and then you get cool designs like this one that says, "Help change the world." It has a dirty diaper. This is the kind of stuff I do. You see all those screens up there? I made all those. They're all dumb designs. All the stuff I wear, I make it all. Because I'm lazy like that. Boom! And it's all dry. Look at that. So one day you're gonna see me wearing this shirt in a video or around town or whatever, and you'll be like, "I watched you make that shirt from design to doing it." I'll be like this. "Yeah, you did. Cool." Still watching, huh? All right. So we're gonna put another shirt on here. I got a different design loaded up. And here comes the hard part. Ready? When people are like, "Oh, I'll help you out. I'll help you make your t-shirts or whatever." And I'm like, "Can you do all the stuff I already did?" Because that's the hard part. When it comes to putting the screen on, I'm like this. Okay. That's done. And moving on to the next one. And now my shirt says, whatever the question is, more government is the answer. We're gonna heat that sucker up. I love it. Now, many of you guys are like, if I had superpowers, what would I do with those superpowers? And you know, I've heard this one a lot. I would fly. I'm like, that makes sense. Okay. Here, I have a theory. I feel like that, like a caterpillar. You think that a caterpillar ever dreams about flying? Because one day he's gonna fly, right? So I think that maybe we dream about flying because maybe one day in heaven we will fly. That's just a theory that I've got. I don't know very much. This is probably ready already. And it is. So, I want one of my superhero powers. Now, I want a lot of superhero powers. I'm not gonna lie, okay? One of my superhero powers, because I didn't say just one. So, here's what I want. I want to be able to travel at the speed of thought. I want to be able to breathe anywhere, underwater, outer space, you name it, surface of the sun. I want absolute immunity, because who wouldn't want that? What else? Obviously, I want to be able to fly. I want the power to heal myself and others, because I think that's important, right? Like you accidentally end up in Pluto's, I don't know, third moon or something like that. And you're like, it's a bit cold here, and I did not anticipate that all the atmosphere is made out of acid gas. And then the person I brought with me, I'm like, ooh, sorry, but I could heal them and heal myself, or back to Earth, and be like, let's take some time in Maui or whatever. All right, so, but here's another power I want. I want to be able to change my shirt just by thinking about it real hard and then jumping. Ready? Well, look at that. My shirt changed. Oh, now that is nice. That looks really sharp. I like that. I wonder though if I can change it again. Let's try. Huh. Wow. Looks like I got some superhero powers after all. Now I just need to try flying. Well, I hope that video helped you guys out. Obviously, I want you to subscribe to my channel because, look, all these videos I've made, I haven't made a single dollar, okay? Newsflash, YouTube hasn't paid me any money, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. All these people haven't paid me a single dollar. And I'm putting water in my kids' cereal. So if you could just please click the like and subscribe button. I mean, seriously, like I entertain you guys all day long, every day. Throw me a bone here, it doesn't cost you anything. They just get advertising dollars. You're gonna skip the ad anyway.